Hello, and welcome to Health Fitness Redefined. I'm your host, Anthony Heeman. Joining me today is to take a dive into the world of health and fitness. We're going to overcome adversity to pick back to vision, see health and fitness in a whole new light. Hope you guys have been enjoying these episodes. We are going to get back to some more quick tip episodes in the coming weeks. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten. I know you guys love those short, quick, digestible episodes. But we try to bring the best guests on today, and I think we have a fantastic guest on today that is really going to make sure you get up and get your butt moving, because that's at least what she told me pre-show. So, Christine, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I love getting to talk about what I love to do every day. So thank you.
Yeah, it makes it so much nice. I get to work in what I do. I get to talk about what I do. And then my wife says, please bring up a different conversation. Horrible joke. But anyway, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the health and fitness world and eventually started your own company.
All the things. How to get into
just
all
your
the
entire
things.
life story in 3 minutes. Go.
In 3 minutes. Oh gosh. Oh geez. Okay. So I grew up on Long Island and I played all the sports and that's what I love movement, and I played volleyball in college, but I was always told that fitness was a hobby. It wasn't a real thing. So I needed to get a real job. So I was working in Manhattan as an investment banker and making all the money, and it was so fun. But that's not exactly what made me happy. So I went back and got my master's in curriculum and instruction and all the education things, right? Because I thought I could teach English because then I can coach. And I had my personal training in Group X. I had a little, 20 something years ago, I already started my fitness business side hustle. And I would, fast forward 10 years into teaching, I was like, oh my gosh, I should be happy and I should be fulfilled, but I'm not. And there's something more. And in the midst of that, I got married, had kids, also got diagnosed with a very severe autoimmune disease and on and off chemo for about 10 years of being an experiment of one. And that really ignited a fire under me to create a bucket list and to think to myself, if one day, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, I can't do this, whatever this is, and use my body, well, then there's no time like the present. And this same disease that left my grandmother a quadriplegic, and she passed away when I was 10, I realized after going through a lot of depression.
What is that disease?
So it's an advanced form of rheumatoid arthritis is what it is. It attacks, your body just attacks itself. It attacks its joints. It attacks its own organs. I always think of it as like, you're like 2 against 1, like, shooting the bad guys. And all of a sudden the bad guys are like, I don't know who the bad guys are. I don't know who the good guys are. So everyone attacks everything. And that's what happens in your body. With a great analogy, that's right out of the, medical school textbook.
Yeah, I read that somewhere.
Right. Somewhere in there with like laser guns. But it's, it was something where I thought to myself, I could use the rest of my life and say, poor me. Wow. Okay. Use it as a crutch and not do anything. But, I'd already been in the fitness industry and movement was a part of my life. And I just thought, you know what? I have the ability right now to do something and inspire other people to keep going, because I know that one day I'm not going to be able to do this, but today is not that day. And that's when I kind of retired from teaching after 15 years. And now I'm on my third, I call it, I made it career, and I podcast and I speak and I books and do all the things in all the groups and, get to travel around the world and inspire other people and help guide athletes with disabilities. And it is makes my heart really happy. And I get to be with people like you and spread cheer and goodwill,
It's awesome that you're doing all that, but I just want to point out a common thing that we've all talked about here in this film. We've all had something that was like, oh shit, this sucks. You had RA. Every guest has had something, myself included. And then it's like, I need to show people that there's a way. And that kind of guides you into this realm, which just makes this like industry so fulfilling. We were just talking about conferences pre-show, but something I didn't mention is when you go to fitness conferences, it's totally different than going to like a business conference.
Right.
People at like business conferences are just all, I'm good, I'm all dressed up and whatever, and everyone's just there to kind of learn. Fitness conference is like the person walking next to you is your best friend and they're happy-go-lucky. Like it's just a different atmosphere because everyone started from nothing to get to something that usually was a personal journey they went through in their own lives. So what happened when you got diagnosed with this iron? You knew that you had what your grandma had, and you also mentioned the chemo. So how did that all play a role to kind of pushing yourself forward to doing this?
Okay. So back it up. I turned 30, and maybe a couple years before that, I started getting like random pains. Things would swell. One day I'm like, I think my foot's broken. The next day, I'm like, nah, I think my arm's broken. Like it was like you thought you were going crazy. And then for me, I don't know. I'd never been 30 before. I just thought, is this old age? Like I was an athlete growing up. Like, is this what happens? Like you just fall, right? You hear everyone and they're like, oh, when I was old. So I didn't know what the heck was going on. I started I lost function of my hands is what started first. I couldn't button things. I couldn't hold glasses. I was breaking things all the time. A key, even like something really little, like typing on a computer or holding a pen. I couldn't do it. And I didn't understand. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm dying. Like something's wrong. And when I went to the doctor, I remember sitting on that table, the crinkly paper. I tell the story a lot. And, she came in flipping through the papers and was like, oh, it seems like you've got this advanced form of whatever. I'm sure you've got, we'll hit you up with some really, all the commercials for everything on television. Like I've done them all, right? Like all the shots and all the methotrexate is like the chemo version and the biologics and you name it, all of it. We'll hit you up with this, real tough, forms of medicine. And I'm sure you've got many more years of independence ahead of you. Independence, legit independence. I almost had a nervous breakdown. I mean, I pretty much did because all I saw was my grandmother, years of being completely dependent. And she was a very independent woman. But aside from the fact that she could only move her head, right? She had nurses around the clock. She had, always people caring for her. My mother was the main caretaker. So I knew growing up as a child what that did physically, mentally, financially to our family and what that was like. And I just saw that and said, I don't want that for my family. I don't want it. And I spent a good 6 months of dark depression, real dark, where I thought, I don't want to live. I don't want to do that to them. And I did have some good support and I did have some good doctors that helped me. And I always say, don't ever discredit, like medication if you're depressed or going to see someone because it's real. And I was lucky enough to one day really think to myself in that dark place, like, Christine, you have two choices in life. You can do something or you can do nothing. Always choose something. And that's Wonder Woman. Okay. Yes. And I do have her symbol tattooed on my back. No one's ever seen us together at the same time. I'm just going to say that. But it was one of those kind of wake up aha moments of, you have kids, you have people in life that you can help that may be feeling as scared and as lonely and as depressed and dark as you do. And it's time for you. You have this power. I mean, whatever that may be, right? My superpower is crazy, but I was just crazy enough to think that I could make a difference. And that's when it all started. And that's when I call it my wake up. I woke up and I was like, whoa. It's like the Grinch, right? It's like maybe Christmas isn't about presents at all. Like I was like, oh my gosh, maybe fitness isn't about killing yourself until your eyeballs bleed. Maybe life isn't about, chasing this imaginary dream and having to have this career that other people think is what you're supposed to do. I go, oh my gosh, like, wow, what if life is about relationships and health? And fitness is about that mind body of, wow, I just want to feel good. I want to get up in the morning and not be in pain. I want to live until I'm in my 80s and be able to still like walk around and live independently. That's what life's about. And that's when, all the people that I'd made contacts with in, 20 something years is, I mean, everything. I was like, you know what? Yeah, you know what? I can run that race, and I am going to write that book, and I am going to, do all the things, because life is so short. I had nothing, like even today, I have nothing to lose.
What a great story. And it just shows that the power of the mind. And I know a lot of people listening have heard me say this 400,000 times, but I'm going to say it again, that I've been in your exact situation. And when you're explaining that story, it is the exact same choice I made.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know what that's like unless you've been there. But on the flip side of it, once you make that conscious decision to change and to move in a better direction, to be something instead of to be nothing, it doesn't matter what life throws at you. It's whatever. That's nothing. I've had worse. Whatever. I've had worse. Like, you're so much more inclined to push yourself forward to be a better person because you're not afraid of the risks anymore. You're like,
Right.
whatever.
You
I'm
know,
going
it's
to
funny.
overcome this. I overcame that.
I'm going to risk to say that you, like me, when the pandemic hit, right? And people were like, ah! I'm like, huh, all right. Next.
No. I did freak out. You're from Long Island, so I can tell you this because I've also lived in Long Island. When my gym got shut, I freaked out for a solid 12 hours. But it wasn't because it was just like, okay, how am I going to eat? That was the first thought. But then, like, unlike everybody else in the world, and I don't really talk about this, but screw it, let's talk about it. That once I had that first March 12th breakdown, the next day I woke up and said, I'm not going to let this define who I am. And I went ahead and worked every single day. I don't mean I worked in my gym. I couldn't. Everyone was eyeing me and watching me. I was close for 7 months. But I posted on social media. I started this podcast. I talked to people online. I joined groups. I stayed relevant, and that was the key. I was like, I'm going to make sure if I make $0, that the second I get to open, I was the one that stayed relevant. And you know what? I know a lot of gym owners on Long Island, they didn't stay relevant. They ended up going out of business. And it's sad, but you have to take tragedy and make the best of it.
Oh my gosh, the pandemic. Okay, so yeah, so we lost income. So what's the bigger picture? It's funny because over the pandemic was when I wrote my book, finished my book, was when wrote courses for, arthritis and medical fitness professionals and whatnot. Went out and did a bunch of webinars. Again, I had my podcast, so kept that going, helped other people start podcasts. And what I love is, you think of what can I do in a bigger picture? And I'm someone I'm always active because I know that for my body, I have to stay strong. I have to stay active because of, what's going to happen if I don't. I know what could happen to my joints and whatnot. And people always ask me, Christine, what are you training for? Right? Christine, what are you training for? Because I work hard, right? I work hard at my desk, writing or reading or researching. I work hard when I, quote unquote, exercise or move. And I say to everyone, I'm even if there is a race or a deadline, it's like, I'm always training because you never know when opportunity is going to arise and you're ready. And that's what I think is so important, that sometimes we trip over ourselves of, oh, well, I'm only going to train. I'm only going to work hard because of, no, that's what separates good from great and from great to amazing. It's you are always training for something.
Always, and you're training for yourself. Every day is a battle of how can I make myself better today and set myself up for a better tomorrow.
Right. Right.
Every day's a decision on that. And I think I like this because this is like a broad approach to every of the specific topics we've been talking about for months. And this is more of that broader kind of spectrum. Let's bring back the alcohol conversation I had about 2 months ago. It's one of the main reasons I don't binge drink anymore. Like, I have one beer, maybe two. Once in a blue moon, I'll have more than that. But like, it doesn't set me up for tomorrow. It's not that I'm against alcohol. It's just I don't want to be hungover for 4 days and then feel it in the gym for the next week after that. It doesn't put me in the right situation. Or what if I have to go into work and make a big business decision? I can't be hungover. You know how horrible that is as a human being to be like, let me make a really important financial decision right now that just walked into my lap and I'm hungover as hell. Or for my employees, I look like shit. I feel like shit. I don't want to talk to them. They're not going to take work seriously that day. They're not going to take me seriously. They're going to just bring me down a little notch.
My favorite comment that I've said this a million times is that I would be a terrible, I could never be like an alcoholic or a drug addict because I can't run or exercise like that. Like I love red wine. Have a big glass of red wine every night. It calms me down before I go to sleep. Listen, married into a big Italian family. That's apparently it's fruit, it's fermented, whatever. Okay, there's lots of research. I don't know. But I can't function. Like you said, number one, it messes with, whatever kind of disease thing is going on here. But it makes it just, what are you doing to make yourself feel good? Because I know that I can't function the next day. And I love to move and to run and to jump and to exercise and whatever. I can't do that, the things I love, if I'm going to be drinking or doing something that is making me feel awful. So I would be a terrible alcoholic is what I would say. Terrible. Can't do it. Sorry.
I get it. I totally get it. I think my next big question to you is, do you feel any symptoms of the advanced stage of RA now currently? So I think that's important to reiterate to people is it didn't just go away, right?
So I want to say that not every day is rainbows and butterflies. Even though I do some pretty crazy athletic events, it is very much individual to me. Just like whatever it is that you have, I don't know exactly what you're going through. Like when I work with different people, like, MS and ALS and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and people with, various autoimmunes like myself, every day, yes, I know that there's things, right, that could be, better, right? But there are times when I know, for me, over that 10 years when I got, I was diagnosed and I was on and off different medications, I spent those 10 years researching. That's really how my whole evolution of getting into the fitness and medical fitness industry and being an advocate for people with diseases and disabilities was that I wanted to know. I was selfish and I researched with doctors and rheumatologists and exercise scientists and RDs and all the things. Like I tried everything from going vegan to acupuncture to all of it. But when I sat back and said, what are my triggers? When I'm really stressed, I'm in a lot of pain. When I eat a lot of, oh my God, Chinese food, forget it. I'm wrecked for 2 weeks. I'm a blowfish. My whole insides are off. I'm swollen. I'm in pain. I know that, even, I was in New York City with Sex in the City and the Cosmos and, God is vengeful sometimes because I can't really drink alcohol. I can have some red wine, but the sugar and the everything else is over sugar, over salt, over oil. I call it the SOS, right? SOS. I have to be very careful. if I'm not sleeping, if I'm over exercising, it puts me in a lot of pain. It could be anything from not feeling like I can be able to walk because my feet feel like whether they're swollen, or, I could wake up at night and feel like my ankle's broken. And maybe 12 hours later, it's fine. So there's a lot that goes into it. And fortunately for me, I've been able to identify a lot of my triggers. Can I always control it? No. When unexpected stress comes out? No. But I've also, the breathing and the what can I do to help my stress? So now knowing the foods and and the lifestyle, I've completely changed my lifestyle into something that I can maintain. And after, I was on 2 different times in my life, real strong medications, which I believe in Western medicine when needed. But I also believe that you can do a lot to help yourself. So I've actually been off the really heavy medication now for 5 years.
Wow.
I take, different medications as needed, right? Because once you're diagnosed, it doesn't go away. Like you said, it doesn't go away, but you try, and instead of having those really huge ups and downs, like maybe you're riding small waves. Again, so for me, I always say I feel like I'm a bird, right? I can measure the barometric pressure. I know when it's going to rain. I know when, I get lots of, more than just the average person who says they're sore. I get a lot of aches and pains. And again, I have various swelling for my autoimmune. And it's not just on one side. So it's not like, oh, my aching wrist from that football injury I had. It's like both wrists and both shoulders and both hips and your back. And what you forget sometimes is that it affects your digestion. So what you eat really matters. Getting your lungs checked all the time. Autoimmunes affect your heart. So it's like I'm hyper aware of, I have to make sure that I am training my heart rate, training my breathing, so that all of those things stay as healthy as possible. So hopefully I will live later, into my later years, and number 1, live, number 2, be healthy, and number 3, be able to function independently for as long as possible.
I'm just relating, and this is why this goes way beyond like just RA. This is everything in life. Mine's tension trigger migraines. Like I'm like a bird. I'm exactly like that.
Right.
I'm watching how I'm laying in bed at night. I'm watching how much screen time I'm putting in. I'm watching how much I'm looking down. I'm monitoring different activities. Have I got in the back of a car? Am I on a plane? How long am I on a plane for?
Right.
And how when's the last time I worked out my back? Like all these things are always on the front of my mind, and it's to keep it like little ebbs and flows, like you said, so I can function instead of, oh my God, I can't move for 3 days.
Right. And that's very real. Like people don't realize that it's not like, oh, you're just tired. No, it's not just fatigue. Like you're in pain, like pain. So,
but this is a testament to how important what we do is, and how important it is for an individual to take their health and fitness seriously, because we're dealing with this and we're at crazy front of mind of all of our issues. Imagine if we didn't have that, how much more we could get done in a day.
What would you want to do? I mean, this is what I love to do. Like, I don't want to do anything else.
Oh, I'm talking about for myself, like work more on my business, do more podcasts, like little things like that I'm not sitting there stressing about how long was that plane ride? Like, not have to worry about that. Just go. Okay, let's go.
Right. Oh my goodness. I always stir the pot. So, when I go out, if I speak or whatnot, I do a lot of workshops. And one of the big things that I get really upset about, and I guess I've been fighting with clients and people for years, but how many of us get people telling us, oh, well, my doctor told me I can't.
Oh my God, don't even say that.
Sit.
That pisses me off more than anything. Just the number one thing I hear that pisses me off. I twisted my ankle. I can't work out. What about the rest of your body?
Right. Yeah.
Like
Right.
the doctors just said they want to, and I get it because my whole family is physicians. They want to protect themselves from being sued, which is why they recommend these things. It is not for your best interest. It's for their best interest, which I understand because they are the most sued profession. And they don't want to lose a license they worked their ass off for 15 years to get. But you need to work out. And that doesn't mean maybe do HIIT exercises and pass out on the floor after exercise. It could be as simple as walking.
Or doing an arm bike if you
Exactly.
have an ankle issue, or, a man that had an ankle replacement. So he was out for 2 weeks, and I was like, all right, take your little scooter and sit on the bench, because we're going to work your other leg and your hip flexor and your back and your arms, and you just sit there. We're good. But those are the things. And one of the most, I guess, most important thing that my rheumatologist, who I love, and I went to a whole bunch of different ones because, I think it's really important to find people that meet you where you're at. And I didn't want to stop moving. And many doctors say, like, take it easy, do everything slow, light work. That's not for everyone. There's people that are freaking Olympians that have various diseases. Or look at the Paralympics. Look at the Special Olympics. I mean, I guide for athletes in the Special Olympics, and some of them are beasts. Like, I'm like, I'm coming. Like, so it's what you make of it. And my one rheumatologist said to me, because I'd said, I don't want to stop. And I said, I'm worried that I'm going to either, hurt myself, or is this going to be worse? And he said, Christine, when you leave here, look in the waiting room, just look around. He's like, and I want you to really think about this for a minute. He said, because Christine, the second you stop moving, it's all over. I will never forget this saying. And I put it up in PowerPoints and everything else, because it really shook me, because when I left, I looked at the waiting room, and it was, a lot of people that were older. Okay. But they were all probably in the obese category. Not very mobile. Some had walkers, some had canes, fine. But let's just say they did not look healthy, and they didn't look happy. If you could imagine this. And I thought to myself, that's not my fate. That is not my fate. And you have a choice, because you could sit there and say, my back kind of is a little sore today. My hip's a little acting up today. And, at first I remember saying to people, oh, well, I guess, we should take it easy, or, take a day off. And now I say, don't ever cancel sessions. If you're a fitness professional or a medical fitness professional, do not cancel any sessions, because you say to them, here's the deal. You can sit on that couch and have your back hurt. Okay. Or you can meet with me and do something that your back may still be a little sore, but maybe we can get the blood circulating through your body, oxygenate your blood. We can actually stretch it out a little bit, and maybe strengthen some other, supporting muscle groups, and that might help your back. So you can sit there, or, it's like, you can sit and be miserable, or you can be miserable and actually do something that would help you.
No, you're absolutely right. And I need to get to our sponsor, but yeah, I totally agree. Speaking of taking responsibility, we started a brand new company called F2 Consulting. F2 Consulting, guys, is myself and my buddy Keith. We have taken my expertise in health, fitness, motivation, and goal setting, and his expertise with everything to do with finances, 401ks, debt consolidation, how to plan for the future with your wealth, all things that a lot of us just either take for granted or really know nothing about. So we decided to come together to say, hey, if you're busy, you have life going on, you're focusing on work, you're focusing on your business, whatever the case may be, you need to take care of yourself. And the two most important things are your health and fitness and your financial status. You need both in order to live a longer, healthier life. So guys, if you need help, you want to start, reach us out at FitBodies, fatwallets.com. That is fatwallets.com, mention the show, get 10% off your purchase. And we're really excited to have you, and we're excited to start this company, and pumped is all I have to say. So please reach out, guys. Escort Consulting. Thanks so much. Back to your point of
Yeah.
which is just so infuriating because I hear it every single day of my life, and it's hard to get across to people that aren't us, right? So a lot of, and this is I guess it's okay to talk about, but this is like an issue I have with like some of my staff, right? Me and you have been bottom of the barrel, beat up, understand we need to keep going. Like that's here. It's never going away. We know people need to do that. Now try teaching that to another fitness professional that has never been in the bottom of the barrel, has everything going right in their lives, and then the client calls them and says, I don't want to hurt coming today, my back hurts. Okay, don't worry about it. Or, just, it's too expensive for me. Okay, don't worry about it. It's pricey. Like they don't understand, like, no, you need this. This is like something you need in your life. This is something that's going to help you way more than anything else. I didn't get into health and fitness to sit here and make money. Like I've mentioned time and time again, we got into health and fitness to help you live longer, spend more time with your kids, stay out of the hospital. There's so many more components to this of feeling better than just, oh, it's okay. No, it goes way beyond that. So what would be your solution to something like that?
So there's two parts to this. The first part is that many fitness professionals don't have the security and the money to lose clients. That's number one. So I get it. You're warm and fuzzy. You came into the industry to help change lives. But like you said, you have to pay your bills. So there's two parts to this. Number one is that, you don't want to lose money, because losing clients and losing time and training sessions is losing money. That's number one. And that's one of the reasons why I say to people, listen, you still need, for your mind and your body, you need to have these sessions. Okay. It's not okay. Consistency is key. You want to be good at anything. It's got to be consistent. So today, I'm not, your average trainer. If you're working with this clientele, not your average person. First of all, you should get, if you really want to be in the industry and you really want to make a difference with certain clientele and certain demographics, go get specialty certifications for chronic illnesses and diseases. And, like some of the ones that I wrote are arthritis and, orthopedic. Those are my jam. There's so many other ones out there that you can find that will teach you some of this stuff from people that have gone through it for their whole lives. Because you don't have to go through like you and I have been through some things, right? So we have empathy. We know how to talk to people, but it's our job now to spread that to other people and say, how do you communicate with someone who, when you get diagnosed with disease, I call it going through the stages of grief, and you don't know what stage that person is in. And it's up to you to communicate to them, how are you feeling? And to say to them, listen, why don't we get together today? We're not going to be doing anything, super strenuous, but I think we should do some balance and flexibility today. I think we should do some, some breathing, stretching. Let's work on that. We haven't done this very, very often. Let's do something different. Do you have access to a pool? Can we get into a pool? Can you do something and thinking outside the box? These are where the more certifications and the more knowledge you have as a trainer, that's where it comes into play. So, again, I loved fitness. I got all the certifications because I loved it. It was like a part-time hobby, right? But now if I have a client that says, I'm my back, my this, my that, well, hey, you know what? Let's do a yoga session today. Let's do a Tai Chi session today. Let me take you through a vinyasa flow breath. You don't have to be a 20-year yogi in order to do some of this stuff, in order to learn it from, different really experienced people that can help. So part of it's that you do want them to come, and there's ways, but I think choose your heart is what I like to say to people. Choose your heart. And I had a conversation with my husband about this the other day, about we try and run together sometimes, and he's on this crazy run streak. And he wasn't a runner. He just over the pandemic was like, "Hey, I lost a couple pounds at the gym and I really don't want to lose my fitness and nothing's open. So I don't want to get new clothes." But he's like, it's hard to get up and run every day. But you know what else is hard? Fighting disease, having type 2 diabetes, having, losing feeling in your toes, get COPD from not being able to breathe and have like all the things. What is your hard? And I like to say that sometimes to people, maybe not in that way, but it's a lot easier to prevent disease than it is to fight it. And it's a lot easier to prevent some of the symptoms that you're going to experience than actually endure those symptoms.
That's brilliant. I love that. And you're right. It's what do you want your hard battle to be? You want it to be a simple workout that's separating you from some debilitating thing later in life that's going to keep you in the hospital for weeks, and it's not fun. Or you need to constantly push forward and understand that there's always a better way. There's always a better option. And it's little decisions that compound over time to big rewards. And that's fitness and finances. I don't want to go back to that, but that's literally the same thing. Little compounding interest, especially with fitness. A workout today will put you so much further ahead because it'll increase 1%, 1%, 1%. Over the course of a year, you're up 365% from where you were when you started in 1 year.
Which I have, because you said that, there's two things. Number one is that I've been working with Chris Nikic as his guide. If anyone's ever heard of him, the Chris Nikic 1% Better Foundation. And he went from couch to Ironman. He's the first person ever with, first man ever with Down syndrome to do an Ironman and then finish Kona. And I've had the just honor and privilege to work with his foundation and guide him. And he's like one of my best buds now. But it's the whole idea of 1% better. And that's the foundation of, it sounds daunting. How could I do these unbelievable feats? Well, if you think about like what you just said, 1% better each day, each workout, that compounds, and that's unbelievable results. And I don't care if it's working out. I don't care if it's your job, whatever skill, whatever thing, maybe it's learning Spanish. I don't know, 1% more words every day. Like this, there you go. But it's so simple and so difficult at the same time, that, I think that some people, I hope everyone gets it and wakes up and realizes how important all parts of their life are. You talked about finance as well. And I give all the time this analogy, and I'm happy to take it. I don't own it, but the umbrella, right? Your umbrella has panels. And when you go outside, right, if one of the panels of the umbrella is not strong, if it's broken or if it's leaking, you're going to get wet. That's not good. And when you think of health is an umbrella. All different parts of your life are those panels. And I always have people draw an umbrella, write down right now all the panels. And one of them is going to be fitness. One of them is going to be nutrition. One is going to be relationships. One might be spirituality or religion. One could be, finance is kind of a really important one in health. So, all of these different panels, when one of them is weak, it's going to affect everything else and you're going to get wet. So, I think that's important to let people see that fitness is much more than just one thing. Like, again, when I grew up, it was like, I played volleyball at a pretty high level, and they told me to jump, and I said, how high? And that's why I had my first surgery on my shoulder when I was 16. That's what I thought it was, but it's not. Health is so much more like that umbrella, and like the guidance and the fitness and the finance and the relationships, and it's so important. So
couldn't agree more. And Christine, I want to wrap this up and ask you the final two questions I ask everybody. If you were to summarize this episode in one sentence, what would be your take-home message? It's a hard question.
What if fear was the key to your dreams?
Ooh, that's good. What if fear was the key to your dreams? I love that. And the second one, easy question. How can people find you, get a hold of you, and learn more?
Oh my gosh. I was told the other day I was Googleable, whatever that means. So if you do look up Christine Conti, I'm very easy to find. But Conti, like my last name, CONTI fit, FIT.com. Apparently my email or my website is flagged, as you told me. So that's exciting. But it's legit. I promise. I'm a real person. All good. We're going to see what happens. But all of my information is there about also my podcast is Two Fit Crazies and a Microphone podcast. We've been around for like 6.5 years. So that is on there as well. And the book is Split Second Courage. You can find out about that and all of the women's international groups that I run and the events and retreats all over the world. So all the craziness, all the stuff is on there. So I would love it if you have any questions. Don't hesitate to reach out. And I thank you so much for a wonderful conversation. Hopefully your listeners got some a little motivation maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Christine, for coming on. And thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of Health Fitness Redefined. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button and join us next week as we dive deeper into this ever-changing field. And remember, fitness is medicine. Until next time. For us, we know what it's like to feel unhealthy, depressed, and downright defeated. We want to show others there is a right way. And through fitness, you can do anything you set your mind to. Fitness can give you that motivation, confidence, energy you need to bridge that mental gap and prevent you from missing important life events. We understand it's about feeling better, living longer, and being good examples for our kids. We understand this because we live it. And for us, that's the redefined difference.